Good morning, everybody. This is Becky at Aunt Beck's Creations or Aunt Beck's Creations, however you prefer to say aunt or aunt. I don't care. It's okay, but it is aunt. So I am currently working on a dress and I've completed the zebra dress behind me, and I'll share that later. I'm just coming on to do a quick tip on the importance of reading the actual instructions that come with your pattern and try not to always go by the picture. Hi, Leah. Because I came into a problem with McCalls 2074. I am doing the mid-range between these two links for Project Dress a Girl. And in the instructions, I've already marked this on the pattern. It says, seams and facings, stitch front to back at sides, right sides together, matching notches. Stitch center back seam from lower edge to circle. And then it goes on to the facing part. But from what I read, it says you're supposed to sew just the sides and the back. But in the picture, if you were just looking at this picture, it looks like you sew the back seam, the side seam, and the shoulders. Do not sew those shoulders together. You will be having to pull out the seam ripper if you do that. Because if you look up the pattern over here, what you have to do is on the facing pieces where the seam allowance would be at the shoulders, you're going to fold them down and iron them at the 5/8 inch seam allowance. And you have to be able to turn this facing inside. So what you do, and I've already gone farther than you need to see, but here is the facing. Okay. And if you had sewn the front to the back at the shoulders, you would not be able to flip the facing to the inside. So that is a problem with that pattern that I wanted to know. And I need to put that pattern number in my title in case somebody else has found this problem and had to pull out the seam ripper. I'm trying to save you some grief. Because once you put the facing on and you flipped it to the inside, you still have your front and back seam allowance exposed. So now my next step, I've turned this in and pressed it. And then I got to thinking, I need to note what you're going to do here. I need to turn this so it's inside out, outside in, whatever. This is where you're going to sew your two seams together. And see, they'll match up. And then you just sew the 5/8 inch seam. And once that is sewn, you just kind of turn and tuck it inside. And then you hand stitch the facing seam together. Good morning, guys. Let me go over to the machine and I'll stitch this and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I guess I need to take my chair with me. Callie's like, what the heck? And I'll only do the one shoulder real quick. I just thought I did the other dress differently, the zebra dress, and I had trouble yesterday and I had to set it aside. So I said, I'm going to go back to the instructions. And then I found this problem. And you do have to make sure that the edges kind of match and that the tops of the facings match. And I am just going to sew basically right along that facing at the 5/8 inch seam. Uh-oh, that didn't sound good. That sounds like I hit. I did. I'm going to have to pick a few stitches out. I caught the facing. Don't want to do that. That's why we have our seam rippers. for the boo-boos. Give me just a sec. Because you don't want to catch either edge of that facing. All right, I've got it open enough I can fix it. And I'm going to flip the whole thing and sew from the other side. That way I can see where this facing is a little. Good enough, she said. Good enough. Okay. Now, I have sewed the seam right there. I need to get rid of these extra threads. And I'm going to trim this extra off down to about 1/4 of an inch with my pinking shears. So it looks like that. And then what you do is you take and you pull this in and kind of tuck that down inside, and you bring the two folded edges. Oh, I didn't take enough of it. I'm going to have to go back to the machine again. But after I tuck that down in there, I'm going to bring these edges together and then hand stitch that closed. And then on the outside, it'll just look like that. So that's how you finish it. I'm going to have to take just a little bit more so that when I flip it like that, everything meets. So it needs a little bit more seam allowance. But I thought I'd share that with you guys, and always read the words. Don't rely on the pictures, because if I looked at this picture, I'd say, oh, I need to sew those shoulder seams too. But if you sew the shoulder seams, you're going to have to unpick them to manage this step. That's why I always say, actually read your instructions from start to finish, even before you start sewing, so that you can catch things like that before you stitch them. And if you find a problem with a pattern and you plan to reuse it, make notes on your instructions, because as we make these, we get to a point where we say, oh, I've made that before. I know exactly how it's going to go. If you don't have these notes here, you'll make that same mistake over and over. Always give yourself notes. And this goes for anything we do, whether you're sewing or doing any kind of project where you're following somebody else's instructions. Make some notes, even if it's just shortcuts. Add your notes to your pattern. Maybe somebody else will buy it at a thrift store after you're long gone, and they won't have your notes there to go by. So anyway, that's just my tip for today. All right, Kelly, I am going to be putting together, how big a box of scraps do you want? Because I don't know how much a medium box of scraps, if I sent it priority, I don't know how much that would be. It used to be like $11. But these are my itty bitty scraps so far. So, that's what I have. But I was thinking I'd do small priority boxes, just pack them as full as I can. And then if any of y'all want any of those scraps, just pay me the priority mailing to get them to you. I mean, they're just scraps. All right, so I need to sew this shoulder. I need to make some adjustments to my seam so that my two folded edges meet up. And then this one has to be hemmed. And it will be done. And I have 2 more to go. And I shared in my group a little heart garland that somebody was selling on Etsy, but I saw it on Pinterest. And I was tidying yesterday, during Craft and Chat, and I came across this pattern piece for the Valentine heart basket that I made for Scott's mom and my mom for Valentine's, I think it was, or Mother's Day. And it had this little heart pattern. So I said, that is the perfect size for that garland. So I took some scraps and I started cutting out hearts. And I have layered them with the dresses scraps, a piece of cotton batting, and some muslin for the back. And I'm using this cool embroidery thread. I think I got it in one of those multicolored kits that you get like at Walmart. You know, it's not DMC. This one says it's JP Coates thread. It's really cool looking. So this is the muslin side of the little hearts that I've made so far. And then here's the pretty colors. And what I'll do is I'm going to string these. I'll get a long needle where I can put it in on one side of the heart and come out the other. And then just string them together using crochet cotton. And then I'll leave long enough ends so that they can I can tie a little loop to hang them by. But I think that's going to be really pretty. So I can scan this heart and put it on my community page if anybody would like to do a little heart garland. That way you could just print this heart off. I'll just take it over there and scan it. Just let me know. All right, so that was my sewing tip, and I'm going to get back to it because I want to finish the dresses today. And let's see, who did I miss? Riri. Good morning, Riri and Angie. You're in a cleaning mood. I got that way yesterday when I needed a break. So that was my tip. Good morning, Mary. I didn't see you on, so I thought I'd come on with this sewing tip. I'm going to go fix this. Mary's here. Mary gifted me this fabric. So let me turn this dress right side out. I'll have to turn it back the other way, but I wanted Mary to see this. I will be sharing this when I finish the other two. I'll come on and share it. Yeah, I need to make some adjustments on that. So this is a size 14, and Mary gifted me this fabric. So I want to make sure she got to see it, but it's for a bigger girl. And I think it'll be okay. I was concerned it might be a little sheer, but we're going to go with it. So Mary says she slept right through her alarm this morning. Kel, I'll get with you when I might just find a plain cardboard box, because if I can come up with my own cardboard box, I can send you more for like $10. And then I'll send you my because Scott uses it too. It's our PayPal. If you can do PayPal, that would be great, because then I could just drop it in the mail to you. But I'll let you know what I come up with. What I'm doing is I'm taking the bigger scraps. These are the bigger scraps, okay? And what I'm doing is I'm cutting those 3-inch squares, and because I want to do something with those. And what I did is I went to the Dollar Tree, and I got 2 of these containers so I can put cool colors in one and warm colors in another. So when I start doing my project, I'll have my 3-inch squares all cut, and I'll have lots of 3-inch squares out of that big bag. And after I've cut the 3-inch squares, everything else that's left that'll be too small for a 3-inch square goes into the brown paper bag, which is nothing but tiny scraps. Okay? So, and I don't know if you want me to wait until I'm done cutting squares to send you some, because that way you'd end up with a little bit of each of these dresses. So that's the plan, man. All right, I'm going to get back to it. Thanks for stopping in. I hope that tip helped. I need to adjust my title to point out that it's this pattern that's got the mistake in it. So sometimes you have to watch, because I mean, the pattern companies, they do their best, but sometimes things slip through like this that add a little bit of what, and it's usually just in the images. That's why you always have to read those instructions. So y'all have a great day.